When he blames Farage for these riots, it makes me sick, because what he's saying there, when he's saying, look, what he said about not trusting what the police are saying about, so many people think like that. So many of us do not trust what the police and the mainstream media are saying. And when politicians get up there and say, by saying that, he could be inciting violence, what they're saying is, unless we control the information that people have, unless we give them what's true and what's not true, people will go crazy and get violent. It's like they don't trust the British public with the truth, with our own information to discern for ourselves. They want to spoon feed us a narrative in order to make us better people. They think the difference between good people and bad people is what information we're given. That's a lie. That's a left-wing lie. We know the difference between good and bad, and we don't need our politicians to tell us that difference. It's absurd.
Probably the most uninspiring leadership race in the history of the world. But the big announcement today, the big revelation, Calvin, is that this lot think the solution to the Tories' worries is to ban Nigel Farage. He's not going to be able to join the party, according to every single leadership contender. Not one of them prepared to do what Suella Braverman would have done, which is try and find some way to unite the right. So Mel Stride, the leadership contender who's the most pro-Rishi Sunak, and my goodness, talk about charisma bypass. This is how he put it.
How is it helpful when you've got police officers going out there risking their lives in a rioting situation to be questioning whether they're being truthful with the public, for example? It's likely to lead to more police officers ending up getting in more trouble than they would otherwise.
So his remarks,
so it's not responsible.
His remarks are putting the safety of police at risk.
I think his remarks about the police not being truthful, potentially, around what happened, let me put it like this, were deeply unhelpful to those officers that were then having to go out and deal with the consequence of the rioting.
Given all that, would you allow him to be a member of the Tory party if you were leader?
Absolutely not. I made that very clear. So no deals with Nigel Farage. Look, Nigel Farage wants to destroy the Conservative Party.
Now, Nigel Farage responded to GB News, Calvin, by saying, it's of no interest to me whatsoever. I know you haven't been exactly supportive of Nigel over the past couple of weeks, but isn't this completely tone deaf of the Conservatives to think that they can operate in the old world? It's gone.
It's absolutely insane. I'm disappointed. Mel Stride is the only candidate there that I don't actually know. I've never heard of him. I don't know who the hell he is. Some of the others I'm friends with, and you are as well, and I find it incredibly silly of them. I mean, I would have thought of those names listed, at least Priti Patel would have said Nigel Farage is welcome in the party. It's shocking that not one of them is willing to stand up and say, this is a guy who seems to connect with the British people in a way that our party no longer can. Let's get him on board. For someone like Mel Stride to sit there and say, actually, no, he's causing more trouble than it's like he wants to destroy the party. No, you've destroyed the party. You guys have destroyed your party. It is no longer viable. It will not win another election unless you fix it. Find your Conservative ideology. And actually, when he blames Farage for these riots, it makes me sick, because what he's saying there, when he's saying, look, what he said about not trusting what the police are saying about, so many people think like that. So many of us do not trust what the police and the mainstream media are saying. And when politicians get up there and say, by saying that, he could be inciting violence, what they're saying is, unless we control the information that people have, unless we give them what's true and what's not true, people will go crazy and get violent. It's like they don't trust the British public with the truth, with our own information to discern for ourselves. They want to spoon feed us a narrative in order to make us better people. They think the difference between good people and bad people is what information we're given. That's a lie. That's a left-wing lie. We know the difference between good and bad, and we don't need our politicians to tell us that difference. It's absurd.
Totally. And I was prepared to give the Conservative Party a chance after the election, Calvin, because I thought Rishi Sunak as a globalist was a big issue. But to have a record defeat like that, to be facing complete annihilation and wipeout, and to think that you can continue with your middle-of-the-road rubbish. Oh, we might leave the ECHR, but we won't. Nigel Farage is a bad guy. I'm sorry, it's over. It is over if you continue speaking like that. Probably the best of the bunch so far, Kelvin, has been Robert Jenrick. So it's no surprise that Humza Useless has decided to attack him today. Look at this. So he was responding to the fact that Robert Jenrick's stated fact, which is that migrants under Labour will be prioritised for council houses. But Useless said 10 days after far-right thugs tried to set fire to a hotel reportedly housing asylum seekers, Robert Jenrick comes away with howler of a dog whistle. Absolutely shameful. He isn't fit for public office, let alone leading the opposition. So this is what the Tories worry about, don't they? Because the moment, Kelvin, you talk about any of these issues, you're going to be decried as racist by idiots like Humza Useless.
Yeah. We don't have any politicians in the Conservative Party that are willing to have the conversations that need to be had. Even Robert Jenrick, who has been saying some quite sound stuff lately, cannot go the full way and have an open and honest conversation. It was just last week he was using the word sectarian to discuss Mohammedan issues. Just say Islam, say Muslim, say Mohammedan. You pick a word that people recognize and use it. Don't walk around on eggshells saying sectarian violence here, there, and there. We can all see what's happening on our streets. We want politicians who are bold enough to address the issue, not just to talk about it, but to fix it. We can't trust someone to fix it if they can't even talk about it. None of those six faces on the screen right now have the kahunas to get the job done, unfortunately. So if one of them gets elected as the next party leader of the Conservative Party, they're not going to get into office in the next election. And that means we've got potentially more of this dross with the Labour government.
Well, maybe, but you know, I stick to my prediction, which is that I think we're probably going to see Marine Le Pen, President of France, and Nigel Farage, Prime Minister of the UK by 2029. I think much is going to happen before then.
Yeah, I can think of worse situations. I don't like him personally, but I could see he would be a much better leader than any of those Conservative candidates, and certainly than
Reform UK is doing a good job at the moment, Calvin. I mean, they really are providing the only opposition.
Yes, but they're still playing the safe game. We won't talk to people like Katie Hopkins and Tommy Robinson. They don't even talk to me anymore, or Lawrence Fox. I don't know if you've had a conversation with them, but they're so othering people in order to say we're not like them, we're not like that. And once you start conceding ground like that, you become complicit.
Yeah, it's divisive, exactly. They shouldn't do that. I'm totally with you on that. First, though, what's so important about being independent is I'm only ever going to tell you about products that I use and truly believe in, and Verso is one of them. I've entered my 40s, so staying healthy is really important to me. I exercise virtually every day, wasn't very good over the weekend, had a few drinks, but usually I'm doing the 16-8 fast. I have lost weight. However, scientists like David Sinclair have proven we can now reverse aging with interventions that go beyond healthy habits. So I wanted a product that I knew would enhance everything I was already doing, one that's backed up by solid evidence. I cannot tell you how good Cell Being by Verso is. That's the name of the product, Cell Being. It has scientifically proven ingredients that fight the effects of aging. It does that by increasing the NAD+ levels. Now, NAD+, that's the thing that powers every cell in your body. For me, the product has been transformative. Fasting is so much easier. I've lost fat. I'm eating less too, and that's because it has blood sugar regulating effects in the product, which actually lead to fewer cravings. It really helps with sleep too and energy. So this is a brilliant anti-aging product. The really helpful thing to know too is that Verso publishes third-party testing from each batch produced to guarantee you are getting what you paid for. And I'm very excited to say an amazing offer today. If you head right now to buy.ver.so/outspoken, you will save 15% on your first order. All you need to do is use the coupon code OUTSPOKEN. The link is available in our YouTube and Rumble description. But to repeat, buy.ver.so/outspoken. Use the coupon code OUTSPOKEN. Now, Calvin, everyone is talking about this bizarre debate on This Morning. Today, very woke TV show with Ryland Clark and Josie Gibson and a doctor who has just been so wrong on so many things in the past. But what was interesting, even Ryland Clark is looking at this woman who's saying that it's right for doctors to ask teenage boys and young men if they are pregnant, right? Because they could be trans. Even Ryland Clark is trying to say in a very politically correct manner, this is madness. Watch.
New guidance requires radiographers to ask whether men aged 12 to 55 could be pregnant.
If you look at it, the guidance is saying that they don't want people to make assumptions about a patient's gender identity. And this comes on the back of a transgender man who unknowingly underwent a CT scan whilst pregnant.
Okay, right. I've got a few issues about this. So why should every trans man, biological man, be asked that question? Because To me, if I went in to have an X-ray, that's in a medical setting.
Yeah.
Surely they would have my medical notes in front of them to say my gender, my birth gender, whatever I identify as. If I went in for an X-ray and the person who is giving me medical treatment asked me, can I ask, are you pregnant? I wouldn't feel comfortable with that person giving me medical treatment, because as someone who's not a trans man, I've got a lot of trans friends, but as someone who's not a trans man, I'd be like, are you all right? Do you know what I mean?
Well, I suppose we ask all women that come in whether they're pregnant prior to having a scan. Anyway, so I know what you're saying. The onus is on the person, but we ask all women anyway. So in that same way, we're saying, actually, let's open this up and make sure that we're considering non-binary, transgender, intersex patients.
I mean, look, I get it, but I think when you're sort of talking about a 12-year-old boy going in for an X-ray and saying, are you pregnant? Surely that's going to confuse that child.
Yeah.
Like, look, I'm not too sure, you know?
Yeah.
No, Rylan, you don't get it. You don't get it. It's insanity. They ask women if they are pregnant because only women can get pregnant. Calvin, can you believe that ITV... Well, I guess you can, but can you... that they entertain this nonsense?
Yeah, ITV lost all credibility for me a long time ago. That particular doctor was one of the big pharma shills. And actually, I don't care if she sues me, because I'd love to see the evidence in discoveries, actually. She's one of the big pharma shills, taking money from big pharma to push the vaccine on people on national television. So she should not be on television anymore. But the whole channel has been discredited for that reason, the people that they had shilling. But Rylan tried his best there to bring some common sense to the argument, saying, I'm a bloke. Why would I be asked if I'm pregnant? It doesn't make sense. Of course, it doesn't make sense. And most people would agree with that. But of course, the woke ideology has to make everyone feel comfortable, especially the smallest minority group. And so instead of just checking the data on the form and saying, well, is this person trans? Have they transitioned? If so, I'll ask them different questions. Are they just naturally male? If so, I won't ask them if they're pregnant. Instead of doing that, we have to have a blanket change for everyone. Of course we do, because the world's gone mad.
Yeah, it really has. Where I do agree with Rylan is that if someone asked me if I was pregnant, you'd immediately think, I'm not having you as my doctor. You're nuts. The other thing that's made me really annoyed today, Calvin, really annoyed, is the ongoing and constant bullying and vilification of the former Prime Minister Liz Truss. Not only, by the way, is it completely intellectually dishonest to say that this woman, in a very short space of time, because she wanted to institute true conservative policies when it came to tax, crashed the economy. I mean, they completely ignore the fact that the economy was crashed by 2 years of unnecessary lockdowns. Not only that, but it seems, Calvin, that the Be Kind left, organisations like Led by Donkeys, who continue to do these stunts, who are effectively middle-aged, lefty dads from London, they have no problem seeming to want to bully a woman into submission. And I know Liz Truss, I'm friends with Liz Truss, she's very, very strong. But this was a step too far, and it is a step too far. Watch.
Well, I support Trump and I want him to win. I'm coming to the next question. But and I think it's what I was saying a bit about incumbents. I think the average American is not doing well, and people do vote on. I think it was Bill Clinton's advisor who said it's the economy's stupid. So I think that he will probably win.
On that.
I've got a load of Trump questions, by the way. But what?
No idea where that's come from.
She's not even an MP anymore, Calvin. It's like, do they just want personal destruction? When does it end?
Yeah, she's strong and she can take it, but that's not the point. This is no way to treat a person. If she's giving up her time to have a conversation, whether it's an interview or Q&A, then be respectful. In fact, that's something the left could model more. having conversations with people that they disagree with, because it's something that we try to do on the right. You always did it on your panel every single week. You have people you disagree with, you try to have an open and honest conversation with them. And actually, that's how the world used to be. That's how we find out if we're right or wrong. And actually, we test our own ideas. But the left don't seem to be able to do that anymore. They demonize and they call us haters for disagreeing with them. But at the same time, they hate us for disagreeing with them. And so they do things like this because they see us as less than human. And I hate to draw parallels, but there's a certain time in recent history when fanatics on one side of the political spectrum saw the enemy as less than human and caricaturized them as such, and vilified them in cartoons. And this is what the left seems to be doing now with people on the right.
You're so right, Calvin. It's less than human, because when everything was going on with me last year and there was this deranged campaign to destroy me and cancel me, and it was driven by the left, it was driven by folk who were completely actuated by malice and were basing everything they were doing on lies, I sometimes said they don't view me as a human. They're treating me as if I'm subhuman. They don't care about the truth. All they want to achieve is destruction. And luckily I'm strong too. And I was never going to allow them to win, especially given that I knew the truth. However, I do feel like it's so ironic that they think they're the kind ones. Because look, we'll have harsh words when it comes to debating ideas, but you don't see me running around trying to personally destroy Owen Jones. You don't see me turning up at Jess Phillips's office and putting out stupid signs. It's very much something that the left do, and it's accepted. And actually, yeah, this is what Liz Truss had to say about it. What happened last night was not funny. Far-left activists disrupted the event, which then had to be stopped for security reasons. This is done to intimidate people and suppress free speech. I won't stand for it. Would we see the same reaction if the activists were far-right? And of course, the answer to that, Calvin, is no, we wouldn't.
I really dislike the hypocrisy for that. I really do. I get accused of being a hater quite a lot. People call me horrible things and call me a hater, but I've never actually called anyone any names. I never resort to ad hominem. Yet we've got people like Kahinde Andrews who will call me a coconut, a house negro, a coon. What are the other ones? You've got people like the Race Trust who do the same. People on the left see us as lesser, and therefore we're fair game. And we've got to get back to the fact that all people are human beings. We're all equal in terms of dignity and worth in the eyes of God. We are all loved, and we should love each other accordingly. And yes, we can disagree. We can disagree strongly. But the moment we resort to ad hominems or attacks or just humiliation, like what happened to Liz Truss, then we are the ones who are falling below the standards, not the person who we deem to be a hater. We are the haters. That's the point we've got to get across.
Very good point and very well put. Thank you so much for watching Dan Wootton Outspoken. Please do subscribe if you want lots more clips and interviews like that. Plus, if you want to watch our totally uncensored after show, then visit www.outspoken.live.